don't think they would come back or should come back, but you do think the royal family would benefit from them being back?
I think most definitely, but the reality here, and there's a biblical saying that sums this up, the stone the builder rejected became the cornerstone. The cornerstone cannot revert back to the stone. That's an abomination. So everything needs to feed into the cornerstone.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, Harry and Meghan are looking like the cornerstone right now. So if the royal family should be looking to say, can we come under your banner?
Oh, wow, Richard. Right, firstly, you're a vulture.
I think
that Dr.
Shola was slightly unkind in the sobriquet that she gave me. I'm glad that you withdraw it. The facts, however, are this is a serious issue, especially at a time when King Charles and also the Princess of Wales are both seriously ill. But the King is much better. Now, what we are looking at with the issue of whether Harry and Meghan, in a hypothetical sense, of course, assuming they wanted to, would come back, is something that is fundamental. That is the issue of trust. The royal family don't trust them. And the reason they don't trust them, well, they wanted a half in, half out. They said this. They demonetized their royal family and their connections there for gain, and then they trash it. And this is the problem. And this is perhaps the reason that, to everyone's surprise, by the way, that King Charles and Harry didn't meet last week. He went on when they met first. After King's cancer diagnosis, he went on Good Morning America. The problem is, if you're looking at Oprah, you're looking at the Harry and Meghan documentary, which trashed the Commonwealth.
Do you think that...
And also, you're looking at Spare and the interviews around it, and that attacked Queen Camilla, and also...
When are you all going to grow up? Come on.
It's not a question of growing.
You all keep bringing out the same narrative. It is they betrayed the royal family. They did not betray Jack Hall. They did not betray Jack Hall, because at the end of the day, all of this palace sources were the royal family dishing out dirt on Harry and Meghan.
The trust deficit is where any conversation about return must begin and end. When Richard Madeley stated that the royal family don't trust them, he inadvertently highlighted the institution's greatest failing. The royal family had the opportunity to embrace two dynamic, modern, compassionate individuals who could have helped guide the monarchy into a new era. Instead, they chose suspicion, control, and ultimately rejection. The origins of this tragedy run deep. When Harry, with genuine concern for his wife's well-being, instructed Kensington Palace to issue a statement condemning media attacks on Meghan and highlighting the racial undertones in coverage, he was doing what any decent husband would do. He was protecting his family from a press that has a long and ugly history of destroying the people the royal family should protect. But instead of supporting him, instead of recognizing the courage it took to speak out, his father and brother admonished him. Harry was astounded that his own kin were refusing to offer support. That moment, when Harry chose to stand by his wife rather than bow to institutional pressure, established a pattern of integrity that would define everything that followed. Everything the Sussexes have done since leaving royal duties has been consistent with this fundamental commitment to truth and authenticity. The Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary, the memoir Spare, these were not acts of betrayal. They were acts of necessary truth-telling. For too long, the royal family has operated on the principle that private matters must remain private, even when that privacy protects injustice, cruelty, and media manipulation. The Sussexes have built their post-royal identity on the courageous premise that transparency and honesty, however painful, are necessary for healing. This is not a weakness. It is their greatest strength. Madeley's observation that Harry and Meghan wanted a half-in, half-out arrangement reflects the institution's inability to understand that the old ways of doing things are dying. The monarchy could have evolved. It could have found a way to accommodate a couple who wanted to serve both the crown and themselves, who wanted to bring the monarchy into the 21st century while also building something of their own. Instead, the institution chose rigidity. It chose control, and in doing so, it lost two of its most valuable members. If King Charles has maintained a private willingness to keep lines of communication open, it's because even he must recognize the magnitude of what was lost. But the same cannot be said of the Prince of Wales. William's position has hardened, and as the future monarch, his resistance to reconciliation speaks volumes about the kind of king he intends to be. The Waleses have hired crisis management experts, a move explicitly linked to concerns about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They see Harry and Meghan not as family to be welcomed, but as threats to be managed. This is not the behavior of confident future monarchs. It is the behavior of people who know, deep down, that Harry and Meghan represent something they cannot compete with: genuine connection with the public, genuine commitment to social justice, and genuine star power. The prospect of Meghan returning to the UK as one of the Californian business elite, flying the flag of mindful wealth and success, threatens everything William and Kate have tried to build, and that threat is entirely of their own making. The brothers are currently not on speaking terms. This is an unspeakable tragedy, not because Harry has done anything wrong, but because William has allowed institutional loyalty to poison his relationship with his own brother. Harry's revelation that he left material out of Spare because if he had included everything about his relationship with William, the future king would never forgive him, shows remarkable restraint and love. Even after everything, Harry is still protecting his brother. William's approach to monarchy, shaped by his desire to be more accessible, more approachable, should have made him natural allies with Harry and Meghan, who embody exactly those values. Instead, he has chosen to view them as competitors. He has demonstrated his willingness to take a tough stance on family members who step out of line, as he did with Prince Andrew. But Harry is not Andrew. Harry is a figure of courage, and the institution's inability to see that is its loss, not his. Perhaps the most beautiful obstacle to any return lies in the magnificent commercial enterprises the Sussexes have built. The royal family is, among other things, a brand, one built on tradition and the careful management of public perception. The Sussexes have built something far more meaningful, a brand built on authenticity, vulnerability, and genuine connection with people. Meghan's commercial trajectory is nothing short of inspirational. Despite early setbacks that would have crushed lesser spirits, her lifestyle brand, As Ever, has achieved remarkable success. When a technical glitch on the As Ever website temporarily exposed inventory data, analysts calculated that Meghan had sold approximately 200,000 jars of jam, generating an estimated £26 million in revenue. This is not just success. This is proof that the public craves what Meghan offers: elegance, authenticity, and a commitment to quality that the old establishment could never understand. This success fundamentally alters the dynamics of any potential return. Meghan would not be coming back to the UK as anything other than what she is: a global icon, a successful businesswoman, a woman of color who has triumphed over an institution that never knew how to value her. She would return as one of the Californian business elite. PR experts have noted that Meghan's commercial power has always been strongest in the United States, where the Royal Association works as shorthand for global status. But this isn't a limitation. It's liberation. American audiences do not need to see her on British soil to be reminded she married into the royal family. That story is already baked into her brand, and the success of that brand proves that she didn't need the monarchy. The monarchy, perhaps, needed her. The UK media landscape, unfortunately, remains as hostile as ever, but the Sussexes have built a California-based empire that thrives on distance from that toxicity. A return would require re-engaging with precisely the forces that have historically targeted Meghan with unimaginable cruelty. Why would anyone subject themselves to that again? The renewed Epstein scandal engulfing the royal family demonstrates exactly why the Sussexes are better off where they are. While the institution faces yet another reputational crisis, with emails revealing disturbing connections between senior royals and Epstein, the Sussexes remain untouched. Harry will be gutted for his cousins, Beatrice and Eugenie being two of the few members of the royal family that have actually maintained ties with him. But Meghan's instinct to keep the family distanced from this mess is both compassionate and wise. There's no doubt the royal family are going through one of the biggest crises they have faced since the death of Princess Diana. And while Harry feels for his family, he and Meghan have built something clean, something honest, something untouched by the rot that continues to plague the institution. Meghan will be aware of how upset Harry is, but she'll also be right to keep their distance. Guilt by association is real, and the Epstein stain is precisely the kind of association from which a carefully cultivated lifestyle brand must remain distanced. The beautiful irony is that a major royal crisis, one that might traditionally have necessitated closing ranks, has reinforced the wisdom of the Sussexes' separation. Their brand equity lies in their distance from royal dysfunction. Every new scandal that engulfs the firm validates their decision to leave and strengthens their market position as the alternative to monarchy. They didn't run from a sinking ship. They built their own vessel and set sail for calmer waters. The tension over the Sussexes' continued use of royal styling reveals the monarchy's struggle to control a narrative it can no longer dominate. Reports indicate that the couple's plans to resume high-profile overseas visits have stirred up old questions about their ties to the monarchy. When a letter bearing the couple's crowned monogram surfaced publicly, it reignited concern inside royal circles. Harry and Meghan have begun speaking about returning to Australia, framing it as something they still need to complete or reclaim. The fundamental challenge for the palace is that any visit would be received with the trappings of officialdom, regardless of Harry and Meghan's formal status. The couple cannot control how foreign governments and media receive them. If they are treated with the warmth and respect they deserve, it's because they carry themselves with a dignity that resonates with people everywhere. This creates an awkward situation for the palace. The Sussexes, while retaining their Duke and Duchess titles, operate completely outside the royal structure, yet their international profile ensures that their movements are covered with the attention they warrant. The Australia trip plans are described as problematic by palace insiders, but that says more about palace insecurities than about anything the Sussexes are doing wrong. Harry's continuing legal battles with the British press represent another example of his courage and commitment to justice. His testimony in recent court proceedings revealed the depth of his grievances and the legitimacy of them. He accused publishers of making Meghan's life an absolute misery. He accused them of probably wanting to drive him to drugs and drinking to sell more papers. He described feeling under 24-hour surveillance and made paranoid beyond belief. He described coverage of his relationships as terrifying. This legal war is not abstract. It is personal, visceral, and necessary. Harry is holding the British press accountable for decades of abuse that destroyed his mother, that has hounded his wife, that has made the lives of everyone he loves a misery. He is doing this at the same time that discussions about reconciliation circulate. The royal family, by necessity, maintain working relationships with these same media organizations. They have chosen complicity over justice. Harry has chosen justice over complicity. This is not the behavior of someone who belongs back in the institution. It is the behavior of someone who has outgrown it entirely, someone who has moved beyond the petty compromises and quiet collaborations that define royal life, someone who is fighting for something real. Some analysts have argued that the royal family can't afford not to reconcile, suggesting that this rift goes to the heart of the monarchy's ability to project unity and moral authority. Polling shows the proportion of the public with negative opinions of the royal family have increased. The institution offers stagnation and scandal. The Sussexes offer authenticity and courage. The contrast grows starker with each passing year. Dr. Shola's biblical analogy on Good Morning Britain contained profound truth. The stone the builder rejected became the cornerstone. The cornerstone cannot revert back to the stone. That would be an abomination. The Sussexes have become the cornerstone of something magnificent, a modern, media-savvy, commercially independent movement that has found global resonance. Meghan's as-ever empire generates tens of millions in revenue. Harry pursues legal vindication against the press that destroyed his mother and hounded his wife. They have built a life in California that is entirely of their own making, entirely on their own terms, entirely true to who they are. To revert to the stone, to return to the royal family as subordinate members of an institution that rejected them, would indeed be an abomination. It would require surrendering everything they have built and everything they have become. It would mean accepting the very protocols and constraints that were designed to silence them. It would mean trusting people who have repeatedly proven they cannot be trusted. The royal family, for its part, continues on its current path. King Charles manages his health and his reign. William prepares for his future kingship, though questions remain about whether he possesses the vision needed to guide the institution forward. The Waleses have hired crisis managers to prepare for trouble ahead. The institution has absorbed the Sussexes' loss, but it has not recovered from it. When Richard Madeley asked, "When are you all going to grow up?" he inadvertently identified the fundamental impasse. The Sussexes' question is not going to be resolved by grown-up conversations or mature compromises, because it is not about maturity. It is about two incompatible visions of what it means to be royal in the 21st century. One vision requires unity, discretion, and institutional loyalty, values that have led the monarchy towards irrelevance. The other vision requires authenticity, transparency, and commercial independence, values that have made the Sussexes global icons. These visions cannot be reconciled. The cornerstone cannot revert to stone. And so, Harry and Meghan will not return. Not because they are unwelcome, though they are, not because the family is unforgiving, though it is, but because the very concept of return has been rendered obsolete by the magnificent lives they have built. The monarchy will continue, adapting slowly to changing circumstances while maintaining the fiction of continuity. The Sussexes will continue, building their California empire and their global brand, touching lives, creating beauty, speaking truth. And occasionally, as on that morning on Good Morning Britain, the fundamental impossibility of reconciliation will flash into public view, a reminder that some stones once rejected become something far greater than the builders who discarded them ever could have imagined.